What's going on, people? Very good evening to you all. This is your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, here for episode number 76 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast. Sorry, should I say? Big up to my co-host right here in the building. He's already here. He's ready to go. Laurie from AFTV in the house. We got a stacked show today, man. Looking forward to going through some of these topics with you.
Okay, looking forward to it, man.
What's been the latest with you, man? What's been going on?
Well, I'm just waiting for the announcement of the Will Smith versus Chris Rock.
Seems like everyone's touching on that at the moment, man. So I didn't even get your thoughts on it. So what was your... Actually, no, we did speak off camera about it, but what was your quick thoughts on that, man? You know, some people saying Will Smith's... Chris Rock's got a better chin than Triple G. That was some of the stuff I saw over the last week. But what's your quick thoughts on all of that stuff?
Well, it's got to be Will Smith on point so far, isn't it? I mean, you know.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, I've got mixed feelings, man. I mean, listen, you just got to be careful how you speak about people's families. You know what I mean? Chris Rock and his supporters are going to say, look, he's a comedian. It was a joke. But then there are other people, and I kind of put myself in that category, is that you got to be careful how you make jokes about people's wives and families and all the rest of it. You've seen sometimes in boxing and in other combat sports, people make remarks about people's families and it can get very unpleasant. I mean, even at the moment, I know you don't follow UFC, but George Masvidal, who's one of the UFC fighters, he got arrested the other day and he's been charged since for felony assault on Kobe Covington, because Kobe Covington, in the lead up to their fight with him and Masvidal, he made some comments about George Masvidal's wife and kids. Obviously, that didn't go down too well with George Masvidal. And George Masvidal actually said after the fight, he said that this ain't over. He goes, it's on site. If I see you in the street, I'm going to go for you. And that's exactly what he did. Obviously, you know, I mean, I'm not condoning that kind of thing. And George Masvidal will be punished according to American law. But I just pointed that out to illustrate my point, which is making jokes about people's wives and girlfriends and kids and family is not a good look, man.
Yeah, but, you know, what's his job? His job is a comedian, isn't it? I mean, let me just... I think we'd get into that. I think it would take over the show.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not condoning what he did, Will Smith. I'm not condoning that. But I can understand why he would feel that he wanted to do that, man. I really can, because if somebody made a cheap shot about my wife or family like that, I would certainly be very upset. Now, would I make the quantum leap to get up in an event like that, millions watching around the world, and basically assault somebody like that in front of the whole world? Then probably not. But I tell you what, I probably would have had something to say backstage or when I saw him next. I wouldn't take too kindly to that at all. So I think it's probably what he did publicly as opposed to what he should have done maybe privately.
Okay. My thoughts on it all quickly before we get on to today's show is just, you know, I fear for the future of comedians if you have to be careful about what you say on that level. I mean, there are certain lines you can't cross, but I didn't know. You know, I can't really relate, but, you know, it didn't seem like the worst taste for me. And Will Smith was laughing at first, you know, until he looked over at Jada. But like I said, if we delve into this, it will take over the whole show. So I just wanted to get your...
Well, I just want to say quickly, you have to... Yes, you're right. He did laugh. He had that kind of nervous laugh on his face initially. He'd obviously looked over and saw his wife and she was pretty upset. And that triggered him. But then we have to remember that... Jada Pinkett Smith, and I'm going to put this on the record, I'm not a fan of how she conducts herself.
Yeah, nor am I.
Having said that,
she don't really defend her husband, does she?
No, but having said that, we know now that she suffers from alopecia, and apparently she had quite a rough time in coming to terms with that. Apparently she went through a lot of mental anguish when her hair fell out, and because of that medical condition, because it is a medical condition. When you laugh at someone's medical condition, that is not a joke for me. You know what I mean? That is not a joke. And Chris Rock knew that she had a medical condition. So to me, he crossed the line there, bro. And when you cross the line like that, there are consequences. Now, like I said, should he have done it in public? Probably not. But, you know, maybe there's a cautionary tale in what happened. Maybe there's a lesson to be learned for wise-ass people out there like Chris Rock who think that they can humiliate people in public and get away with it. So,
Oh, it's his job, isn't it? But let me
it's
just...
not his job to humiliate
Oh, he's a
people.
comedian.
Yeah, but it's not his job to humiliate people.
All right, let's get on to the show anyway,
And it's
man.
also Will Smith's job to defend his wife. You can look at it like that.
Yeah, but not like that. Yeah, not in that way, I don't think. But anyway, let's get to the chat, man. We got Harvey in the building. He's put, yo, good evening, gents. I hope you're both well. I'm looking forward to the show today. Also been really enjoying the content on the channel recently, Daryl. Big up yourself, Harvey. He says, keep on smashing it. We got Punch Smollett in here. Big up Punch Smollett, man. I've enjoyed seeing him in here over the last couple of weeks. Where's Mr. Burns, man? Get him in here as well. I want to get Mr. Burns in here. He was good last week. DS, my brother. Big up yourself, bro. He's put, good evening, gents. He agrees with you, Laurie, about this whole Will Smith thing. He said he's got very mixed feelings on it. The whole Masvidal thing, Punch Smollett has said he's sick of that. He's sick of him. A few guys here commenting about the whole Will Smith situation, man. But yeah, listen, big up Daniel Mack in the building as well. Like I said, we got a stacked show today. So I just want to get into it because, like I said, I feel like we could do a whole separate show on this whole Will Smith and Jada thing, you know. And I think that would do right.
The whole world's been talking about it from the day it happened. I mean, I was in the office today and people are still talking about it. So this is going to run and run, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
I'm surprised Eddie Hearn ain't been in contact with either of them trying to set a fight up.
I think Jake Paul did. Jake Paul wasn't he?
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing you expect Jake Paul to do, isn't it, really? Try and cash in, try and, you know, I mean, gain some notoriety from it. That's entirely what Jake Paul does.
Yeah. Well, anyway, last weekend, there was quite a lot of fights to look forward to, man. We had Richard Riakporhe against Dion Juma. Dan Aziz, Dever got to fight Matthew Tinker in the end, but he did come through his opponent. That was a good fight. We also saw Tim Tszyu make his American debut. We saw Josh Warrington win the title from Kiko Martinez. And we saw Miguel Berchelt, man, getting battered and stopped, you know, in his second fight. Well, in his first fight since the Oscar Valdez defeat. Which one of those fights stood out for you last weekend, Laurie, and why?
I would have to say the latter one, Berchelt and Nakatali, because as you said, it was Berchelt's first fight back since that devastating defeat to Oscar Valdez. And this was supposed to be his route back to world title honors. And, well, I think not only did he suffer a devastating defeat, it could also be the defeat that puts an end to his career, certainly at the top level. Because I can't see him coming back from this, to be honest, because he looked totally shot. It has to be said, although you do have to give Nakatali credit. I mean, Nakatali, we've seen him before in the ring with Shakur Stevenson. He didn't give Shakur an easy night. Shakur tasted the power early and decided that he wasn't going to get hit by those right hands again. So he boxed a very careful but very smart fight. And it's interesting because a lot of people gave Shakur Stevenson a lot of stick for that fight, saying that he was too defensive. Some people were saying running. It was nowhere near running. He just boxed smartly. He used his IQ and his tools to win a safe victory. You know what I mean? I mean, he barely lost a round in that fight. Although it was competitive, he barely lost a round. That's what you do as a boxer. You know what I mean? That's smart. That's utilizing the skills you've got. You know what I mean? To get the win. You don't have to crash, bang, and wallop with every single guy. Berchelt, on the other hand, he's only got one way of fighting. He's got no way of defense. His offense is his defense. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the reflexes. He doesn't have the punch resistance. And he doesn't have what he used to have in general. So he was easy pickings.
I fear for him at 135, man. New weight division. This was supposed to be a new start. I did a video on it this week, and I basically said, is he done? Is he damaged goods? But you've just basically said to me that you feel that he is already.
I think at the top level, he's looking like damaged goods. Because don't forget, in the weight below this, he was brutally knocked out by Oscar Valdez. He'd been dropped a couple of times in that fight and then brutally knocked out. In this particular fight, which was supposed to be his route back to the top against what they thought was a carefully selected opponent,
Yeah.
He was ruthlessly exposed. And every time he got hit, and he got hit a lot, his
That's what
legs
Michael
seemed
Mack
to
was saying. Yeah.
buckle. You know what I mean? Now, some people have suggested, and I have seen other fights with Miguel Berchelt, is that he does have this weird kind of gait, doesn't he? His legs do look a little Bambi-like. If you look, he's got a massive upper body for the weight and not much legs, and he looks a little bit ungainly. That being said, though, he was shook nearly every time. And then the other worrying thing about that is that he gets caught flush, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He does not move his head at all. You know what I mean? And I've noticed a lot of those fighters from that region, you know what I mean? They're very face first, they're very aggressive, very in your face, but they don't have what Canelo has, which is the head movement and the footwork. I mean,
So where does he go?
Canelo's footwork isn't great, but he's got excellent head movement and judgment of distance. So that allows him to evade punches. But someone like Berchelt, he's very square on and he just comes straight to you.
So if you're top rank, what do you do with him? What do you do now? Because this was supposed to be the safe fight, like you said, new weight division, new goals, new objectives, you know, but that's been shattered. So now what do? You can't drop back down and weight again. You're gonna have to stay at 135. You've got more killers. You've got killers at 135 as well. So what does he do? It's a real slow route back to the top for him.
What they will do is they will have to find somebody that, for number one, doesn't hit that hard, because you know with Berchelt he's going to get hit. So they'll have to find somebody who's not a puncher, and they're going to have to match him very carefully, because as soon as and the thing is, even if he doesn't get match of a puncher at that level that he's boxing, which is at the top level, even if the guys are not big punchers, if they hit you regularly enough, they're going to get you out of there, aren't they? Let's be honest. And like I said to you, he has no reflexes. He has no head movement. He's very square on, and he only knows one way to fight. So he's pretty much done, Daryl.
He got dropped with a jab.
Yeah, all they can do with him is to try and match him as carefully as they possibly can. And even that's only going to be for a couple of fights.
Yeah.
And he's already said he's not retiring. So it doesn't look good at this stage for him, I've got to say.
What about Tim Tszyu? Made his American debut against Terrell Gausha. He was dropped as well, actually.
He was.
But he did win. That
was more of a flash knockdown, wasn't it? Early in the fight, first round. He was able to recover, and he recovered well. Tim Tszyu, you know what? I like the look of him. It's the first time I've watched all the fight. He looks very sturdy. He looks strong. Come forward fighter. Again, doesn't have a lot of lateral movement. Rarely moves his head. So the defense definitely needs to be worked upon. But I did see some good things as well. He's got good punch variations. Goes to the body, although he could have gone to the body a bit more in this fight. He looks very strong. Decent power. And he's obviously, you know what I mean, he's got mentally strong. This was his first fight in the US. He had to get up off the floor. And then, let's be honest, he got off the floor and went on to dominate the fight. He nearly stopped Gausha, I think, in the 6th round. So, yeah, all in all, it was a successful debut, an American debut for him. And you can see why he's getting a lot of plaudits. Although, looking at him, I think some of the other guys at that weight will give him problems, without a doubt.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think Jamel Charlo or Brian Castano were losing any sleep over that performance. But listen, he's still got a way to go. He's still young. But
still got a way to go.
Maybe I wouldn't have him with them two guys yet. But he is heading in that direction.
Yeah, he'll be in the shake-up. I mean, I think the route he's going to go is that he's waiting to see what happens in the Lubin-Fundora fight. So he's calling out them guys. There's another guy at that weight that a lot of people seem to be calling out. A lot of people are sleeping on him. Charles Conwell, American Olympian, unbeaten, good fighter. I've watched a few of his fights. Looks like he's got the goods, man. And he's calling these guys out. No one seems to be responding to him. I wonder why that is. Him versus Tim Tszyu would be a great fight. Whether Tim Tszyu would want to take a fight like that, I'm not so sure. But, that's a great fight.
Yeah.
Conwell has the skills, but I think Tszyu probably has the size over him, possibly the punching power as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I mean, Tim Tszyu will make for some excellent fights. Whether he'll scale the heights, reach the pinnacle, it's I mean, I wouldn't say yes, I wouldn't say no, but yeah, he's definitely in the shake-up, though. I would have said.
What about over on this side of the pond, man? We'll start off with the boxer show. Dan Aziz, our guy, originally scheduled to face Matthew Tinkler, didn't face him. Sorry, I forgot the other opponent's name, but he put up a good performance. So apologies, because that was, credit to Dan Aziz, first of all, for going in there and getting the job done. You've been really gearing yourself up for this fight, and every boxer has experience of this, but you geared yourself up for this fight, literally pulled out at the last minute, having to face someone that you weren't prepared for. Obviously, he would have been a bit demotivated by that. And at times during the fight, for me, didn't look at his best, but at the end of the day, he still got the job done.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Listen, I mean, when you're at that level, especially, and you've been training for a particular opponent, and then they drop out, and then you got a last minute guy coming in, and to be fair as well, the guy that came in, he was big and strong, long arms, presented different problems, and he gave it a go. And like you said, Dan wasn't at his fluent best, but then having said that, I thought he coped mentally with it well. He was dominating the fight. I mean, listen, he wasn't fluent, but I thought he was in control. He was never in trouble. Barely dropped around. I mean, on the Sky commentary, there was, I think, Natasha Jonas said that he's losing a couple of rounds. I never saw that, to be honest. Maybe I have a jaundiced opinion, but I didn't see him in any real trouble. But yeah, he wasn't at his fluent best, but I will give him credit because, like I said, when you're up against a last-minute opponent with nothing to lose, it can, unless you get them out of there early, you know what I mean? It can often prove to be a difficult night, or a more difficult night than you would want or expect. So I give Dan a lot of credit. He stopped the guy. That's his second stoppage in a row. He's showing power. He's showing presence. He's got authority on his punches. And yeah, man, onwards and upwards from here.
Yeah. A couple of questions. We'll start off with, before we move on to the main event. Daniel Mack has said here, what's your thoughts on Triple G and Murata? Yeah, it was supposed to take place before. Didn't happen, obviously, because of the COVID restrictions. Now it's taking place next month. We'll talk more about that fight. But for me, it's just about time that we're getting some sort of unification in that division. But I'm not restless for this fight, man. I'm not like,
I am so underwhelmed by this fight, man. I mean, but Golovkin is expected to beat Murata. Murata was a very good amateur, of course. He won a gold medal as an amateur, so I'm sure he's no mug. But he's not really torn up any trees as a pro. Golovkin has hardly fought, has he, in the last 2 or 3 years? And when he does tend to fight, they tend to be against nondescript opponents. We now know that if he wins this fight and Canelo wins his fight against Bivol, we expect both of them to come through. Then these two will fight each other again, a third time. Again, very underwhelmed by that. I don't want to see it. I've not spoken to a single person who wants to see Triple G versus Canelo 3. So if there's anyone out there watching and you want to see that fight, let me know, bro. And let me know why. Because to me, we've seen it twice already. We know what's going to happen. If anything, Canelo's going to stop Triple G this time. And there's just so many better fights that could have been made than that. Yeah. That being said, I'm kind of mildly intrigued as to how Triple G will look. Because, listen, he is a big name in the sport, or was a big name. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how he's going to look against Murata. I wouldn't even rule out the upset, because... Listen, Triple G was once a very good fighter. I'm not going to say great, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to say great because he's not achieved greatness in my book. He was once.
What about how holding the record for middleweight title defenses?
Yeah, but against who though? You know what I mean? I mean, Deontay Wilder's got the record or equal record of heavyweight defenses. A lot of people out there are not going to call Deontay great, are they? So I don't know, man. I wouldn't regard, seriously. I mean, Maybe my modern standards, some people will say he's great, but to me, Triple G is not going to go down as one of the great all-time middleweights. Not for me.
No?
Nah, not for me.
You don't think he's been the most dominant, middleweight of this particular era? Remember, he did go on a phenomenal run. You know, consecutive knockout wins.
A phenomenal run against whom? Who was his best wins against? Let's analyze it.
Triple G's best win. I mean, we'll obviously scratch off the Canelo, even though everyone thought he won.
But he didn't beat Canelo, so you know.
All right. Let me pull up. You know what? While we're here, and we're going off schedule, but you know what? That's what we're here for, man. Let me pull up his resume.
Yeah, put it out there. Who thinks that Triple G is great? I don't think so. Don't get me wrong.
I'm curious to see what people say.
He's been a very good fighter. And in his prime, he was good to watch. He was getting guys out of there. But if we look at it in the cold light of day, if we analyze his career the way we're supposed to, I don't think you can put him down as a great fighter, bro. I don't. Okay. I really don't. What was his career-defining fights?
Well, here we go. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
All right. So Morata, that's still to come. That Polish guy, that's not even worth a mention. That Derevyanchenko win was
he lost that fight as well. That was a terrible decision.
Yeah. Steve Rolls, that looks like a better win now.
Why? What, just because Edwin Berlanga couldn't knock him out? Come on, man. That's not a great win. He did what he's supposed to do.
Martirosyan, that he was out of his prime then.
Plus Varnis Martirosyan was a light middleweight coming up to, and I remember that fight. Varnis Martirosyan, when he took that fight, I don't think Martirosyan had fought in about a year or two.
Yeah, he didn't.
It's literally cashing him out. That was a pension fight for Martirosyan.
Danny Jacobs got lucky to win that one.
Yeah, again. And then Kell Brook, yes, he beat Kell Brook, but Kell Brook, as we all know, is a career welterweight.
Dominic Wade, no.
Dominic who?
Yeah,
David Lemieux. That was a good win because
that was a good win at the time.
Yeah, because David Lemieux had juice at that time, and David Lemieux's a big puncher. And if you remember, Triple G had to adopt a different fighting style in that fight. He couldn't go out all guns blazing because he was wary of the power. And like I said before, when we were talking about Bachel and we were talking about Shakur Stevenson beating Nakatali, I've got no problem with fighters that when they recognize somebody's a threat, they utilize a different style to win. Because to me, you've got to show this. A great fighter, most great fighters are almost always intelligent fighters. So to me, that was a good win. One of his better wins, actually. Willie Monroe, come on, man. I mean,
Willie Monroe wasn't really...
Martin Murray, come on, bro. Martin Murray's a good domestic fighter, but with respect to Martin, and I know he did go close in a couple of world title fights against other fighters, but I wouldn't call a win over Martin Murray something that you can utilize to say, yeah, he's a great fighter. And then when you go further down, man, I mean, where is a career-defining fight that he's won?
Well, and I'll stop sharing now. I'll see what some of the guys in the comments are saying. But what people will say is they'll say he was ducked. And he was ducked. I mean,
he ducked Andre Ward. You know what I mean? He ducked a lot of fighters.
No,
Jacobs. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because looking down that list that you just presented there makes me even more convinced.
That made it worse than I thought. Yeah,
he's not a great fighter, bro. He's not. He's a very good fighter, yes, with a lot of power and a lot of skill and a lot of ring presence. But nah, not for me.
Actually, saying we got to give him Canelo
you
one.
Can't.
We should though. He beat Canelo, man.
Because otherwise, you've got to say that Jack Catterall is pound for pound the junior welterweight champion in the world, but he's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like I said, when he fought the better fighters, the Derevyanchenko's, the Danny Jacobs and people like that, he didn't look convincing.
Here, you like this comment here. Harvey saying, I've seen people on Twitter say Triple G.
That is absolutely an abomination. For anyone to say that, they need to be cancelled. Because that is ridiculous. He's not even in the same sentence as Hagler.
DS has said here, Golovkin is the best middleweight since Hopkins, but he's not an all-time great. Prime Jacobs, his best win. If he got the decision against Canelo, then the argument would be a lot stronger. That's what people are saying. So,
Agreed.
you know,
I do have to agree with that, but he didn't, do. You know what I mean? So, and let's face it, right? Would you say that fight was a robbery or what? I don't know.
The first one?
Yeah.
He should have got that. I think it's quite united. Yeah, I'd call that a robbery. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was a draw, but it's not like Canelo. If Canelo won, then it's a straight up robbery, stick up, bank robbery.
Yeah, but Canelo didn't win it, did he? It was a draw.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. No, I think you could call it a robbery.
Could you?
I think you can.
Okay. The second fight, he definitely never won that fight. Definitely didn't win it.
Yeah.
In fact, Canelo in that second fight, to me, that was the night when Canelo did establish himself as, you know what I mean, one of the pound for pound fighters. And I'll tell you why, because of the way he handled Triple G in that second fight. Because if you remember on the first fight, Canelo fought much of that fight on the back foot. He was getting pushed around at times by Triple G, which is why a lot of people felt that Triple G should have got the win. By the way, I do think Triple G won that first fight as well. So I'm not sure whether I'll call it a robbery, but yeah, he should have got that. He should have got that.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah. It's one of the, like,
yeah.
How many people do you think did anyone ever have Canelo winning that? Or even like, no, I don't know anyone that thought Canelo won that.
Well, all the Mexican fans thought he won. Dan Rafael probably thought he won. I don't know. But yeah, so the first fight, yeah, he should have got that, no doubt about that. But the second fight, he did not win that fight. I couldn't understand when people were saying that he won that fight, because to me, Canelo won that quite clearly. To me, don't get me wrong, it was very competitive, and there were some rounds that, you know, you call them swing rounds that could have gone to Golovkin, I suppose. But to me, I thought Canelo won that fight, and I think the difference in that second fight was that he was able to push Golovkin back, or at least stand his ground, and that made him easier to get his shots off, because it's always harder to get your shots off if you're moving backwards. The shots will have a lot more purpose on them if you're coming forward or standing your ground. So yeah, but no, for me, Triple G, I know his career's not finished yet, so you know, you never know. He could beat Canelo in a rematch. I doubt it very much, and then he would have to go down as a great fighter to beat a guy like Canelo at this advanced stage of his career. But if he retired tomorrow, to me, no, he does not go down as an all-time great.
Let's go back to the fights last weekend before we move on, man. Riakporhe and Juma.
I know you weren't impressed with Riakporhe, were you?
I haven't been for the last few fights. What it is, he gets the job done. Big up Ian Hamilton in the building.
I was saying to you in the week, is he the UK Deontay Wilder? Because the power is real, bro. Trust me.
The power is real, but it's a good thing he's got it. Because
that's part of the game, Daryl.
yeah. I don't want to be too critical, but I just think, you know, Ash is saying it here, man. I was just a bit like, I think Juma got overconfident in that fight, man. Even though he got dropped in the third, I think he should have been a bit more alert, you know. But the body shot was a great body shot.
Yeah, and you know what? And you know what else is impressive about both knockdowns and the KO was that when I say both knockdowns, there was two knockdowns: the knockdown earlier and then the KO, the body shot. Is that if you notice, Riakporhe did not load up on any of those shots. The first one was a very skillful, it has to be said, a counter right that he threw when Juma was on his way in. And then the second one, man, he just sort of leveled him to the body. He just touched it. He did. It's amazing, bro. Like, and Juma was having a good round at that stage. Yeah. And my man touched him to the body, and he couldn't get up. Even after the count, he was on his knee, he couldn't do it.
I have to agree with Michael Maxwell here, man. He doesn't throw it. He's very conservative with his output of it. And I'm just like, what are you waiting for, bro? Like, I know.
He's also unbeaten.
Yeah, but I mean, like we said, this is world level we're talking about here. Where does he want to go? You know, Sky are giving him the big push.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, him versus, and don't get me wrong, I like Lawrence. Me and you have met Lawrence Okoli a couple of times, and that's my guy. You don't beat
Lawrence. No.
But no, but listen, you couldn't rule him out. When hang on, let me finish. When you got power like Riakporhe, Daryl, trust me, you cannot rule these guys out because the power that he's got is God-given. I know, and listen, you can develop. I'm not one of those guys who say, oh, you're born with it. You can develop power. Absolutely, you can. Thomas Hearns in the amateurs was not known as a puncher, but in the pros, he was a devastating puncher. So you can develop your power. But there are some guys, man, that they don't even have to load up. They just touch you and you go. And Riakporhe looks to me like one of those guys.
Okay,
He looks to me to be an even harder puncher than a Coley.
Daniel Mack says here, a Coley ices him.
Would you agree with me?
No, I don't think I do.
You don't think he's a harder puncher than Lawrence?
No.
Now, let me tell you why I think that is up for debate. Because Lawrence can whack. Don't get me wrong, man. Lawrence has got serious power. But when Lawrence has knocked most of these guys out, he's caught them like proper flush. You could see he's really, you know what I mean? Let the punches go with bad intentions and he's caught them. Yeah? But with Riakporhe now, I've seen him a few times. He's just touched guys and they've hit the floor.
Yeah, but who?
No, but Juma was a good fighter. He was unbeaten. You know what I mean? A lot of people saying was smelling the upset. You know what I mean? And he iced him, Daryl. Like, you know what I mean? And that kind of power, it's rare that you see that. And he did it in his previous fight. He was looking all over the place. All of a sudden, bang, and the guy's gone.
Go to some comments here.
There's not too many fighters that can do that.
Go to some comments here. Harvey saying, I'll be honest, I switched the fight off after 4 or 5 rounds and I focused on the DAZN card. Dan says here, a Coley ices him. Ash says here, a Coley absolutely smokes Richard. Michael Maxwell says here, a Coley under Shane is a far more rounded fighter these days and he takes him out. Harvey,
yeah, how many of these guys were saying that after Lawrence's last fight? When let's face it,
but I agree with them. I agree with them, man. Sorry, I just think
no. But hold on, let me finish. Right, you were a number of people, and listen, I'm not gonna say I wasn't either. There was a number of people that was very critical of Lawrence's last performance against that Polish guy. Yeah. Now, let's be honest, man. Richie Riakporhe is better than that Polish guy. Yeah. And Richie can punch. So what I'm saying is, as much as I like Lawrence, and I've met Richard Riakporhe as well, by the way, but I've had conversations with Lawrence a few times now. But I'm telling you now, man, that if those two fight, it could literally be who lands clean first.
Well, DS agrees with you. He says here, said Riakporhe hits harder than a Coley. Riakporhe has a sort of power that takes a man's soul.
Yeah.
But what about the level of competition? We're not talking about that because Coley's been in there with better competition than Riakporhe. Would you not agree?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he has. He has done. But I would say that Dion Juma was better than Lawrence Coley's last opponent.
Okay. DS has said here, the intrigue about a Coley versus Riakporhe is we don't know how good either guy's chin is.
That's a good point as well. That's why I said it could be a case of who lands first.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, Richie looks a bit more sturdy. That's not to say, by the way, that he takes a better punch. He just looks a bit, sometimes Lawrence can look a bit ungainly in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His footwork can look a little bit off. But I'm not denigrating Lawrence, man, because I like him a lot and he's improved a hell of a lot. He is making progress under Shane McGuigan. But to me, I'd love to see that fight, man. All British showdown, all London showdown. You put that fight in London, man. Richie Riakporhe's South London, Lawrence is East London. You know what I mean? That's a proper fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd go over Coley, man. I'd pick a Coley in that one for me.
Right.
Asher said here, I was a bit late. Have you spoke about Warrington? We haven't, but we'll speak about him now, my bro. Josh Warrington, man, stopping Kiko Martinez. Can't remember what round it was now, but entertaining scrap, man.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I think, if anything, Josh Warrington probably made that fight a bit harder than what it should have done, to be honest. Because Josh Warrington in this fight, he went from being at one minute he was shelling up, and he would literally go from shelling up to taking a couple of steps forward and just letting his hands go with reckless abandon. So for that reason, it made it very exciting. And obviously, he's the younger, quicker guy, probably stronger, fresher. And he kind of overwhelmed Kiko Martinez in the end, did he? Got the good start.
I didn't think he'd come out of the second round, Martinez, the
Yeah,
way how he
yeah,
started.
yeah. And in the end, Josh Warrington overwhelmed him. From a technical point of view, it wasn't a great fight for me to watch. It was exciting. I'm sure a lot of the casuals and people who don't normally watch boxing would have loved it, especially when you factor in the crowd. But from a technical point of view, it wasn't the best, was it? It was basically Josh Warrington doing that and then transitioning from that to letting his hands go. You know what I mean? So, but hey, man, it was a good watch, great atmosphere, and I'm pleased for Warrington. He got the win. And yes, there have been a lot of comments made about his use of the head. Not for the first time with Josh Warrington fight, because I think he just gets reckless in there, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I've seen it before with him, man. He just marches forward and just throws everything at you.
I'll tell you what, man. I think he looked okay. I don't think he looked. I thought he had a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. Yeah, the use of the head was. You could say that.
Yeah, he did. But do you think, from a technical perspective, he looked good though? I didn't think it was a.
But it's effective for him, because I remember when he fought Frampton, a lot of people were like, "Yeah, Frampton's gonna outbox." Josh Warrington didn't allow him to, and I just think he's really good at that. Josh Warrington.
I think to be fair though, in the
Frampton,
when he fought Carl Frampton, he was technically a lot more on point than he was on Saturday. I just felt.
I think he did the right thing, you know. I think he just old man Kiko Martinez, just let him know you're an older guy. Do you know what I mean? This is my house. I'm not going to let you get comfortable, get your feet ready, and all. I'm just going to stick it on you. I think he did the right thing.
Okay, yeah. Well, listen, man, I'm not hating on that, because obviously those tactics were successful on the night. But I'm just saying that I'm looking at that fight from a technical perspective, and I didn't see a whole lot of good boxing going on. What I did see was a lot of desire, or a lot of heart, a lot of passion, a lot of energy. Two guys giving it their all. And like you said, Warrington being the younger, stronger, fresher man, came out on top.
Yeah. But part of fighting in that way, you see he had a broken jaw, as Harvey underlines here.
Well, this is it.
Part of the damage what you take for fighting like that.
Exactly it. And let's be honest, man, if you're the guys in America and you're watching that, they're not going to be watching that thinking, oh, shit, man, Josh Warrington, I've got to avoid him, are they? They're going to think to themselves, he looks quite beatable. If you're Lara as well watching that, you're going to think, yeah, fight me like what you fought.
Yeah, I don't think you will.
It's exactly what I'm saying. If you're Lara and you're watching that, you're saying you're doing that. Yes,
horses for courses, like you said. Triple G fought a different way against.
No, but can Josh Warrington do that at this stage in his career? I'm not so sure if he can now. Because what you tend to fight, when older fighters do that, that's kind of telling you its own story. You know what I mean? That's kind of telling its own story in a little bit of way. Am I being overcritical? Maybe the people out there
I think
will tell me. I just thought from a technical perspective, he didn't impress. But in the other facets of the game, he was very impressive.
We got our man, Jeff TV, in the house, man. Big up, Jeff, all the way from Philly. He's put here, Josh Warrington tried to use old school tactics against Kiko and wasn't smooth with it at all. Salute my guys, Boxing Lowdown and Laurie. Big up, Jeff TV. If you're not following that channel, go and follow his channel, man. Him and Shane over there, BFV, they drop some gems, man. They big themselves up, man. We need to get them back on the channel as well. But
Jeff, he's used to watching guys like Cool Boy Steph and people like that. When he sees Warrington flailing his arms like that, he's probably thinking, rah, what's that?
Yeah.
Now, like I said, the tactics worked for him on the night. And we all know that Josh Warrington is a high energy guy. He fights with a lot of passion. If you remember, when he lost to Lara, he said that the absence of the crowd hurt him because he's one of those fighters, he feeds off that Leeds crowd.
Yeah, but even with the crowd, in that second fight, I don't know, man.
This is it. But that can only take you so far at the top level. And listen, I'm not trying to be too critical of Josh Warrington because he's done very well in his career. In fact, he's overachieved, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's done well. But that was just my observation on the fight.
Well, Lee Wood was in the building, and Ash has posed this question here. That is the fight that we want to see. Lee Wood and Josh Warrington. And first of all, where would you have that? Would you have that at the City Ground, or would you have that at the First Direct? Like, where would you have that, man?
to be honest, it doesn't matter where they have it. I'd make Lee Wood a firm favourite in that fight, man.
Oh, really? You'd have him a firm favourite?
Yeah, because
A firm favourite?
Josh Warrington's there to be hit, and he's not a. Listen, if you're Lee Wood and you've just come off life, I wouldn't say life and death, but he was behind, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I guess you could call it life and death in a boxing perspective. If you fought Michael Conlan, who's a pretty skilled guy, and you've overcome Michael Conlan in that fashion, and then you've seen the way that Josh Warrington has fought against Martinez, I don't think Lee Wood and Ben Davison are going to be thinking, shit, man, let's swerve him. I think, yeah, you're going to say, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? Because definitely Warrington is in that kind of final straight of his career. He's even said so himself, because he said that had he lost to Kiko Martinez last weekend, without a doubt, he was going to retire. So that tells you where he's at in his career. And I think you're
being a bit harsh on Josh Warrington.
Because I said that Lee Wood's his favourite to beat him. No, listen, man. I just think that at this stage of his career, man, I think you've seen the best of Josh Warrington. And don't get me wrong, what he did on Saturday, he achieved, man. He went out there and he got the win against a rugged guy. But then let's face it, man, Kiko Martinez is well past his best, bro. Well past his best.
Yeah, I have to agree on that.
So you would have to say that Lee Wood, don't get me wrong, Lee Wood is no spring chicken. I think he's 33 or something like that.
33, yeah, but he's fresh. Well,
but he's fresher. Yeah, and he's on a run right now, man. His confidence must be through the roof, especially after that win against Conlan. And I just
Ben Davison in the corner as well.
And he's a noted puncher at this weight. And Josh Warrington's not exactly hard to hit. So to me, I would make Lee Wood favourite. I may not have done that a couple of years ago. It would have been the other way around.
Definitely.
But right now, at this stage of both men's career, to me, I think Lee Wood would start as a favourite in that fight. Okay.
Big up Ash. And let me just give him a round of applause for this comment right here, because Ash knows, the people in the comment section know. Like, let me read it out. He said, big up you two, the only people who stuck up for Haney when he was getting called the email champion. You man held it down. Now people are on the bandwagon. And first, let me just say, a lot of the people here in the comment section were riding with us with this Haney thing as well. And Ash, you're spot on, man, because I'm seeing everyone on Twitter now, all lauding Haney. I'm just like, where you lot been? We've been bigging this guy up for a long time, man. And it's about time he gets his flowers, man, because, you know, we saw this week the sort of terms and conditions that he's accepted to take this George Kambosos fight. And for me, he's setting a leading example to these young guys out there, to even the experienced guys out there. Terence Crawford, are you watching? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's willing to do all this, leave his own promotional company, team, go on a different network, have the rematch in Australia, have the first fight in Australia, fight Lomachenko if he beats them two. Willing to do all that because he believes in himself, he's chasing glory and he's chasing greatness. And what me and you have always said on this channel is that Devin Haney, we could see it. We could see that he was willing to do that. And now he's proven it by accepting these terms.
Absolutely. And like you said, you got to give him a lot of credit, man, because he's proving to people, to the naysayers, not to people like me and you, because we knew pretty much from the start what he was about. But a lot of people saw him as just a sort of Floyd Mayweather wannabe and that type of stuff. But this guy, he's chasing greatness, man. He's doing it for the legacy, like you said. He's not doing it for the money. He's taking a pay cut. He's fighting abroad in a place where, let's face it, man, he's not going to get any favors over there. And against a guy who I have to say, Kambosos, and originally I was a fan of his. Now he's kind of turning me off him a little bit, man. The man's acting like a diva. I'm surprised he didn't have a clause in the contract saying that we will fight as many times as it takes me to beat you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is not the same humble George Kambosos that won the titles from Teofimo. You know what I mean? We're seeing a different animal now, the diva-esque Kambosos. Well, which I must say is a little disconcerting for me, because I thought he was about more than that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hey, man, I mean, you know, I guess it happens. Boxers become champions and all of a sudden their mindset changes. I'm sure he's still a very good fighter. I mean, listen, that being said, what we said about Devin, he's going to have his work cut out. You know, this is not going to be no walk in the park. It never would have been. But the fact that he's having to go over to Australia, and even if he wins the first fight, then he's got to go back for the rematch. And let's face it, Devin is not a big puncher, so it's unlikely that he's going to stop Kambosos. So you're looking at 2 fights. If he wins the first one, it's not going to be easy work. And then when you get through all of that, then you got on top of that, if you thought that was in, then you got to fight Lomachenko. So, but if he can get through that trilogy of fights and emerge with it still being the undisputed, undefeated champion at lightweight, you got to say, man, that's greatness already, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
You would already proved himself as a great fighter.
Big up our guy Daniel White in the building. He's Team Kambosos for this one. He's saying, I can't wait to see Kambosos take out Devin Haney. So look, yeah, I love it, man.
My question to Daniel would be, why don't you, it would appear, judging by the way he's worded that he doesn't like Haney. I'm interested to find out why that is.
Daniel,
so that's a question yours, for Daniel. Only you can answer that, bro. Why can't you wait to see Kambosos take out Haney? Is it personal?
Daniel, the floor is yours. We'll see what you got to say to that. Francisco has said here, clearly Kambosos didn't want to fight Haney. Major credit to Haney. The only thing is, will he be able to, yeah, this is a good question. This is something that a few of us have pointed out. Will he be able to make 135 for 3 more fights? He walks around at a bigger weight. He said that he struggles to make lightweight. Will he be able to do that to fulfill that contractual agreement?
Well, that question has been put to him and he's answered it in the affirmative that he can. He said he's not ready to move up in weight yet. I mean, he's still young. So I guess when you're still very young into your career, you can sort of cut weight in those drastic ways a lot of those guys do. I think it's when you start getting over 25 and into your late 20s that these weight cuts start to really take their toll on you. So I think for now, he'll be all right. I think what you'll see is, I think if he wins against Kambosos twice, beats Loma, I think what he'll do is he'll move up to 140.
Yeah. Harvey says here, I was a fan of George. You was a fan of George as well
after defeating
Teofimo Lopez. But like what Harvey's saying here, he doesn't seem to like him anymore. He's Team Haney.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth, man. You think, yeah, that's not the George Kambosos that I was seeing before, man. When did we get this version? A lot of people are calling Kambozo, you know what I mean? Because of the way he's just talking, some of the corny stuff he's uploading on social media. He's just not the same dude, bro. It's disappointing. But hey, you know, I mean, I'll still rate him as a fighter, though. You still got to give him credit for what he's achieved in the ring. And to be fair to Kambosos, got to be fair, he's been a bit of a road warrior up until this point.
He has.
So he's probably thinking to himself, well, look, I've been going into people's back gardens. I mean, he went into...
You've got to give him credit for that as well, man, because he has been doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, he went over to America to fight Mickey Bay. He came to England to fight Lee Selby. And then he's gone over to America and taken the belts off Teofimo Lopez in a fight that most people expected him to lose. So you've got to give him credit for that. But like I said, the way he's conducted himself since he won the title has been a little bit disappointing for me. He said some rather cheesy, corny stuff, especially on social media. And he's acted the diva. And I'm disappointed as well that he was sort of toying with the idea of fighting people like Ryan Garcia and people like that who clearly didn't deserve a shot. And I was disappointed. I mean, he'd made all the right noises before winning the title, saying he wanted to win the titles off Teofimo. He recognized Devin Haney as a champion, yeah, even though it was an email belt, as people say. But he said he recognized Devin Haney as the WBC champion. And he's on the record as saying that if and when he beats Teofimo, he would be happy to unify the belts with Devin Haney. Because remember, at one point, Teofimo was calling himself the undisputed champ. And in the lead up to that fight, I can remember quite clearly, Kambosos was saying, no, you're not, because Devin Haney's got one of the belts. Lo and behold, he beats Teo, and then he's using that same Teo narrative about being undisputed. So there you go, you see. He's acted a little bit silly at times, but The main thing is now is that the fight is made, and I'm looking forward to that
Well,
fight because it's going to be a great
has
fight.
he signed the contract yet?
Well, he's coming out with this. Well, I need to see it, but you know he's going to sign. He's got nowhere else to go, bro.
Yeah,
Because Lomachenko cannot make that fight. Ryan Garcia has got other fights. Teofimo's moved up to 140. So who else is he going to fight with?
well, yeah. Daniel White has responded. He said here, I think you personally don't like Kambosos due to his out of the ring actions. I just think he's got more over 12 against Haney. I don't think he will deal with his volume. That's fair enough. Like, I'm not saying
that's not
Kambosos
quite fair enough because he said he can't wait to see Kambosos get Haney out of there. So I'm pressing him as to why did you say it like that? Why are you so fair enough? You think Kambosos will win. I've got no problem with that. But you went on to say that you can't wait to see Kambosos get him out of there. So that's a little bit
maybe he's just a big fan of Kambosos. I don't know. Maybe he just maybe Daniel rates Kambosos, man.
Listen, I rate Cam. Like I said, I respect what he's done. I just don't like some of the bullshit he's come out with in the last few months or so. But then, like I said, the contract signed now, well, pretty much. So we're going to find out come June the 5th who was real and who wasn't. So I think, listen, for me, Haney's clearly the better boxer, but better boxers don't always win fights. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I'm looking forward to that when it does become official. A fight.
Sorry, can you just keep talking? I've got to make an adjustment here because I don't want any problems, and I can see where my connection is faulty. Keep talking. I'll be with you in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, man. Go ahead. Just looking through some of these comments, seeing about Haney and Diaz. Yeah, listen, it's not official yet, but it's looking like the June 5th will be the date for George Kambosos and Devin Haney. As for the fight itself, I mean, I've been saying how much I've been lauding Haney, but I think the actual fight will be very competitive. And there's no, I can see why people pick Kambosos, the work output, the fact that it is in Australia. It's not going to be easy. Devin Haney's not a particularly hard puncher, so he's really going to have to dominate that fight to get a decision out there. I've seen a comment earlier from Michael, I believe. He's smelling like, he said he's got a bad feeling about him getting a decision out there, and you can imagine.
That old adage applies.
That was a close fight that Jeff Horn got the win. It's going to be hard to just get the win out there.
It is going to be hard to get the win. Listen, Devin Haney's got to approach this fight from the mindset perspective that he's a couple of rounds down on the cards already. Because we all know what it's like, especially when you're fighting away from home. I would imagine the stadium's going to be pretty full wherever they fight. George Kambosos was talking about 80,000. That's probably an exaggeration. But it doesn't even matter if it's 5,000, 10,000. It's the fans there are going to be for Kambosos. They're going to make a lot of noise. And that, as we all know, we've seen it over here, we've seen it all over the world, that can resonate with judges. So if the round is close, and we know that Kambosos is a high energy guy, he's not going to lack for energy and commitment and stuff like that. He's going to be, letting his hands go. So Devon's going to have to win the rounds clearly to get them. So it is a hard ask. You imagine that. You're fighting a guy, right? Like you said, Daryl, Devon is not what I would call a particularly powerful puncher. So it's unlikely that he's going to get Kambosos out of there. So you've got to be thinking this fight's going to, and neither is Kambosos, by the way. He's not a big puncher either. Most of his fights go distance. So the rounds are going to be competitive. So if you're Devin, you're going to have to do things in those rounds that, distinguish you from Kambosos, so people can say, yep, Devin won that round. And he's got to be able to do that in at least 7 rounds out of those 12. That is not going to be easy. No. Against a guy like Kambosos, who is going to be hella motivated. He's going to have thousands of screaming Australian and Greek fans in the house. And you're going to have judges who, let's face it, they're human beings. Every time Kambosos lands a half-decent shot, there's going to be cheers from the rafters, roars, whatever. They're going to be under a lot of pressure to do the right thing and to judge it fairly. And in that kind of sort of bear pit atmosphere, man, that makes it very difficult. So credit to Devon, man, for wanting to go out there, not just once, but twice. You've got to give him hella credit for that.
Yeah, Daniel, the rematch is in Australia. So yeah, as Laurie just said there, he'd have to go out there twice
Twice, man.
to get that over and done with, man.
And even if Devon gets the nod the first time, then you've got to go through that all over again. And let's face it, it's not like Australia is next door to America, is it? It's the other side of the world. This is a very hard assignment.
Yeah, but fair play to him for taking it on, man. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
fair play for taking it on. What about AJ and Usyk? Let's segue into that area now. Rumors that the fight will be taking place in June. Eddie Hearn did confirm that, but we don't have a confirmed date yet. Saudi Arabia emerging as a potential location for that fight. When I first heard of it, I shook my head like you did, but then I thought, hold on a minute, maybe Usyk might want this on neutral territory. He is the champion. You know, maybe he does have more of a say as to where the fight should be. Why do we have to have it in London all the time?
Yeah. Although what I would say about Usyk is he would probably prefer to have it in London than Saudi Arabia, because let's face it, the Ukrainian guys, even with before the war, they don't tend to fight at home, do they? They're always on the road. So he's used to fighting on the road. He's fought in England a few times now. He won his gold medal in London. He knocked out Tony Bellew over here, and he beat Anthony Joshua soundly over here. Chisora. So I don't think he'd have any qualms about Chisora. He beat over here. I don't think Usyk would have any qualms about coming here, because let's face it, it's not like Usyk will be met by a barrage of hostility here, will he? Because he's never previously faced hostility. And if you think about it, given what's happening in the Ukraine, there's going to be a tremendous amount of sympathy and empathy for him in this country.
You might get a lot of support.
A lot of people in this country like and appreciate Usyk.
Yeah.
So I think if I'm Usyk's manager, I'd probably prefer to fight here rather than Saudi.
Yeah. We'll see.
I think with Saudi, they're probably going to get more money. So he might look at it like, you know, at the end of the day, these guys are professional fighters. Usyk's got a family to look after. He might think, if you're Usyk, he's going to think, I'm going to beat Joshua wherever we fight. So he might decide to go for the option which offers him the most money.
Do you big up to WM in the building, man? Shout out to you, bro. Good to see you here. Right. Big up yourself, man. Laurie, do you think no matter where the fight is, Usyk emerges as the strong favorite?
Yes, I think he is the favorite. I think he was clearly the better man last time. I mean, in this country, we've been kind of holding on to this sort of excuse, for want of a better word, that AJ lost because he didn't fight the right fight last time. And listen, that may be true, but let's be honest, man. If you're Usyk and Usyk's camp, you're going to be coming over here very confident, because he was the dominant fighter, man, in that last fight. It has to be said. AJ did have his moments. AJ, even though he fought the wrong fight, when they did get up close and personal, you could see that AJ was the bigger, stronger man. It's just that he couldn't impose himself over the 12 rounds. And if you remember rightly, towards the end of that fight, man, when that bell went, man, AJ was very glad to hear that final bell. Because if there'd have been another 30 seconds in that round, he could well have been stopped. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Harvey says here, how much did Saudi pay for Ruiz Joshua 2? I literally just Googled it, and it says 30 million, roughly. You can never be too sure, but that's what it says on there. We got a guy called Henry in the building. Big up, bro. I ain't seen you here for a while. Good to have you here, my man. He's put here, evening, gents. Can we see AJ performing better this time round, or will Usyk go up another level and smoke it? I tend to favor the latter, if anything.
I think you could see both scenarios, because I think even though Usyk was clearly the better man last time, absolutely no doubt about that. But it has to be said that Joshua definitely fought the wrong fight. He could have made things so much more difficult. And the reason why I say that is because in spells, when Joshua was aggressive, you saw that he was having some successes. And like I said on one of your previous shows, that after the fight, I'm not sure if he's going to admit it now, but after the fight, Usyk admitted that Joshua had hurt him. And you could see from his face, he was quite banged up. And that was without Joshua really landing too many blows on him. So when you take all those things into consideration, it wouldn't be beyond the stretch of imagination that Joshua could win a rematch. but he
Yeah,
would
but
have
what
to
I've
be a
said,
totally different animal.
something I've said to you when you've said that, because I've heard you say that before, but something I've said to you in response is that Usyk can up the levels as well. We all talk about, oh, AJ needs to do this, AJ needs to do it. Usyk can do more as well.
It's
He's
not
already
so
been
much of upping the levels, though, Daryl. It's the fight strategy I'm talking about. It's not like AJ needed to throw more punches. It's that he needed to be more aggressive and more physical with Usyk. He needed to impose himself on it. A bit like what Tyson Fury did with Wilder, you know what I mean? When he was the bigger man, and it showed. He got inside and he roughed Wilder up, pushed him back, used that weight, used that strength, and wore Wilder down. Now, listen, Wilder is not Usyk. Wilder doesn't have Usyk's sort of fleet-footedness and skills. I know that without anyone even telling me that. But I'm just nevertheless making the point that styles make fights. And if AJ's going to beat Usyk, this idea that he's going to go in there and outbox Usyk, like what he tried to do last time, I think Barry McGuigan described it last week as moronic. I wouldn't go quite that far because I'm not going to call AJ a moron by any stretch of the imagination. But you know what I'm saying, yeah?
It was a bit baffling.
Everybody said it. Everybody, even people who don't really know about boxing, they was like, why is a 6'6" guy like AJ, built like a whatever house, bleep house, boxing on the outside against a guy that is significantly smaller than it? Just didn't make no sense, bro.
Yeah.
You need to impose your size and strength and punching power on that man. Now, that being said, that's quite a risky strategy because obviously when you do that, then, Usyk will find the target as well. And Usyk, like he can hit.
Deceptive power.
Yeah, he's got deceptive power and he's a southpaw and all the rest of it. And he's tricky with his shit too. So that's not going to be easy either. But all I'm saying is that is AJ's best chance of beating Usyk. This boxing and moving Cuban style, whatever, that ain't working, bro. Because that's not AJ. You know what I mean? That AJ, you're trying to do that X amount of years in boxing, and all of a sudden you turned up as this boxer against a guy that's been boxing his whole life, winning medals as an amateur, world championships, Olympic golds, boxing in that style. You're not going to beat him doing that.
Me personally, I just think, you know what, Usyk, he's got so much to fight for right now. He's beaten AJ already. He's going to be supremely motivated. I just think he's going to beat him again, man. If I'm honest, I just think he'll beat AJ again.
You thought he'd beat him again even before the war, didn't
I did. Yeah. So
listen, man. You know, nobody can hate on what you've just said there, because if I'm being honest, man, if somebody gave me a sum of money, I always like to analyze it like that. If somebody, I'm not a betting man, but if you gave me your money and you said, right, Laurie, here's some money, put a bet down, you would have to put the money on Usyk, because like I said, in the last fight, he was clearly the better man. At times, he was dominating AJ in there. But like I said, AJ got the tactics all wrong. Styles make fights. If he uses a different style, then he has a much better chance, is what I'm saying.
We're an hour into the show. Shout out to my brother Jabari. He's absolutely right. He says, smash the likes. Hit the like button, people, if you haven't already. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel. We're on 1,100 subscribers. So big up Jabari Joseph. Thank you for reminding people. Hit the like button if you haven't already, guys, man. Let's try and get this video out to as much people as they can. Harvey is saying that Usyk will stop AJ this time, but he's not right.
That can happen because, like I said, for AJ to pursue the tactics that we spoke about, the more aggressive version, that's going to put him in the pocket to be countered and hit back himself. And
at the same time, he's not writing him off.
AJ's stamina has not been the greatest over the years, so it could be that he gets pieced up and stopped late. But you know, it's an intriguing fight, though.
Yeah, we got some more topics to talk about today. One of them, we spoke about Usyk, AJ, Kambosos, Haney. Quickly, we spoke about Jarrell Miller last week. The fact that he could be returning to boxing as early as June. Did you see the pictures emerge over this week of him in Tyson Fury's training camp? I thought of you straight away because I'm just like, I could
Why
imagine.
Did you think of me?
Because I just knew what you were going to say. I just know what you're going to say. 2 convicted drug cheats together in training camp. Do you know what I mean? What's
Well,
your
would I
thoughts
be
on that?
lying if I said that?
Well, no, you wouldn't. But yeah,
Uh,
what did you think of that? Him bringing Jarrell Miller into camp, will that benefit Fury? Was he just doing it for show? Like, what would you think? Like, was that
yeah,
what was the
I
reason?
think he does have a relationship with Jarrell Miller, innit? I think Jarrell Miller said on record in the past that he gets on with Tyson Fury. He's been Tyson Fury's sparring partner in the past. You remember? Because I mean,
He could be
Tyson.
trying to help Miller too. He could be
Yeah,
just
he could
trying to
be.
help
You know,
him.
what I mean, I'm sure he'll be getting well paid. So in a way, he's helping Miller. And let's face it, Jarrell Miller's style isn't totally dissimilar from Dillian's, is it? If we're being honest, come forward style, big guy. You know what I mean? Slow feet. Dillian's much better at it than Jarrell Miller. Hits a lot harder. But Jarrell Miller is a big, strong, tough guy that will give him good work. So I think, to be fair to Tyson Fury, from a sparring partner perspective, I think he's a good sparring partner to have in. And Jarrell Miller's got a good chin, by all accounts. So he will give Tyson Fury work, I would have thought. He's good. They're going to ask him to imitate what Dillian would do, which is plod forward and try and rough him up inside and, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So, yeah, that's represents good work for Fury. At the end of the day, he's a sparring partner, so they won't be doing no drug testing for sparring, will they? So,
well, not everyone's seeing. You make some great points there, and you are right. But not everyone's seeing it that way. A lot of comments where people were disappointed in seeing Miller there. But I mean,
why
you
is that
guys
though? Because listen,
better get used to it because Miller is not. It seems like he's not going to go anywhere. Do you know what I
no, but
mean?
why should he though? He served his back. Listen, I don't like Jarrell Miller, yeah, but I'm just speaking from a perspective, a life perspective. Like anything, he served his ban. He's, you know what I mean, he did his time, so to speak, and now he's allowed to participate in the sport again. So really, why shouldn't Tyson Fury use him as a sparring partner? There's no morally and ethically, he's done very little wrong, Tyson Fury, because the guy served the ban. I know it doesn't look great to see 2 guys who are convicted drugs cheats laughing and hamming it up in front of the cameras, almost like they're laughing in people's faces. But listen, you know what I mean? If you've been convicted for a crime, yeah, and you come out of prison, you can go and get work again, can't you? There's no rule. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get work in certain places depending on what you've done. But you know, the principle is that once you've done your time, you paid your debt to society, you are allowed to then participate again. So that's what Jarrell Miller's doing.
Quickly on Dillian White, I did a video today on the channel. Go check it out, guys, if you haven't seen it already. I did a video about Dillian White, and I was basically saying, will his inactivity hurt him in the rematch with Tyson Fury? Because when you think about it, Dillian White has had 2 fights in 2 years. One of them was a loss to Povetkin. He obviously won the rematch, but he's a guy to me who needs to be active. He's not the natural fighter where he could be out of the ring for 2 years like Mayweather, come back in like he never missed a day. Dillian White, to me, he's not naturally fleet-footed or anything like that. So for me,
He
it's
never
better when
was
he's
and never
active.
will.
And he's going in there against Tyson Fury, who, you know, been more active than he has recently. You know, the biggest fight of his career, Wembley Stadium, a lot of pressure. Would you think that his preparation would have been a bit better if he was able to at least squeeze one more fight in? Not all his fault, of course.
Possibly, but then when you're on the verge of the cusp of a world title like this, do you really want to go in there and pick up more punishment? Because let's face it, Dillian does get hit in his fights, doesn't he? Do you really want to go in there and maybe suffer a cut or damage or, you know what I mean, or maybe even get knocked down or worse, not look good? Then it damages your chances of a world title shot.
Well, his last fight was a year ago.
Yeah, I agree. But Dillian's not a guy that relies on timing and stuff like that, is he?
That's what I'm saying. So maybe that's why I'm saying it. Has that hurt him, the inactivity? Because you lose your timing when you're not active, don't you? So
that's assuming you had timing in the first place, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's got timing.
Dillian is not really. I don't see Dillian as that type of fighter. He's not that fighter that relies on timing and precision and that type of stuff. Dillian, no disrespect, he's quite basic, isn't he? But what Dillian is, he's very tough. He's a born fighter. He's got heart and he can punch. And I think in this fight, he has a puncher's chance of beating Fury. That's the only chance for me, really, because he's not going to outbox Tyson Fury. No way. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's not going to outbox him. If he's going to beat Fury, it's because he's either knocked him out, opened up a cut on Fury's eyes, because Fury does have a lot of scar tissue on those eyes, or it's going to be one of those fights where he dropped Fury 3 or 4 times on the way to getting a lopsided points decision or a close points decision. So he's going to have to put Fury down at least once or once and out to win this fight. He's not going to win on points. I don't think so anyway.
We've got Father Beans in the building. Big up yourself, bro. He's put here, lads, welcome to the show, my brother. WM has said here, White has the ultimate motivation, to be fair. A shot against Fury and for the world title. He has everything to gain from this fight and nothing to lose. I can't argue with that, really.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I know Dillian feels that he's been unfairly treated in the negotiations and should have got more money. But listen, it's a career high payday. I mean, you know, in front of X amount of fans, possibly as much as 90,000, they're saying. High profile fight. This is what he wanted, an opportunity at the world title. He's got that now. It's everything to play for. He's not expected to beat Fury. And I think in a way that kind of helps Dillian a little bit because it takes some of the pressure off him. He's gone away to Portugal and I'm sure he's preparing diligently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he will come in. I mean, listen, when he rocks up on the scale, I can tell you now, he's not going to look like Anthony Joshua looks with the ripping abs and all that. He's not going to look like that, but he is going to be in shape.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes from there. I'm not expecting him to win on points, but if he was to bowl over one of those left hooks and put Fury down and get him out of there, it would not shock me, bro. You know what I mean? It would not shock me at all because Dillian can punch, trust me. And he's got the heart and the desire to go in there and give off his best. And you can never write a man like that off.
Michael Maxwell saying here that the break will help Dillian Whyte because he's had a lot of tough fights back to back.
I did kind of make that point as well. Yeah. You don't want no more punishment on the way, man. He's had enough.
Yeah.
He's had enough of that. He just wants to get in there and try and win this title. I'm going to say this as well, right? And I'm not dissing Dillian. It's just my honest assessment. I think that even if Dillian wins a title, I don't see his reign on the top being very long.
Nah. Well, we'll see, you know.
But then
it's going to be a tough ask just to get it. It's going to be a tough ask just to win it.
He's got to win it first, yeah.
Did you see Dillian Whyte's lawyer and Frank Warren on
I heard that. Did you get to hear it? I listened to it, and I must admit, I thought Frank Warren was...
Yeah, who won that for you?
To me, I thought the lawyer was by far making the better points.
Oh, you do?
All Frank Warren kept saying is, but you told him to sign the contract. But the guy was explaining why that was. They had to give up a number of things, but then there was some other things there, like the tickets. I mean, Dillian only getting 6 tickets. Come on, bro. Like, you put Dillian over a barrel, giving him these conditions. And then when the man's turned around and the lawyer's saying that, listen, we agreed to negotiate these things later, you're saying, yeah, but you signed the contract. To me, it just sounded like Frank Warren was just using that as a way of basically saying that they'd shafted Dillian about, yeah, you signed a contract. You know what I mean? So, and listen, man, people in boxing know that Frank Warren has done this type of thing to a lot of people. So I'm going to leave that there, you know what I mean? But yeah.
I'm going to try and get this.
Warren's reputation goes before him, put it that way, when it comes to stuff like this.
Let's move on, man. A couple more topics I want to speak about today. Another video that I did was on Gervonta Davis. And his fight with Rolly Romero is the last one in his contract with Mayweather Promotions. Now, we've spoken about him on this channel, you know, quite a few times and about how frustrating it was not seeing him in the mix against the likes of a Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney or Lomachenko. could that come to an end now? Will he, it seems like he always has these moments where he seems unhappy with Mayweather Promotions. It seemed like it again. Will he, do you reckon, continue their relationship, or do you think he'll move on? Because I did see Mayweather come out and say all good things do come to an end. So is he kind of sensing that this could be the end of Gervonta Davis, and would you recommend it?
If I was a close friend, confidant, family, somebody that Gervonta Davis trusted, I would say, Gervonta, get the hell out of there as soon as you possibly can. Because I think that I'm going to say something fairly controversial, but I believe it to be true. I think that signing with Mayweather was one of the worst things that Gervonta Davis could have done. I don't think they've done anything for him.
Well, what about financially? He has that. He is. When I saw an article today or yesterday, it said that Gervonta Davis is the highest ticket seller in America right now as an American fighter.
Yeah, but do you think Mayweather
That's got to be down to Mayweather Promotions as well, isn't it?
Listen, he's got the link with Al Heyman. I just don't think Mayweather has done any. Listen, he's with Al Heyman, isn't he?
Yeah.
And Mayweather has a promotional contract with him. But I just think that Floyd Mayweather is in the Floyd Mayweather business, bro. I don't think that Floyd Mayweather has got the best interests of Gervonta Davis at heart. I really don't. I think that Gervonta would have had a better career had he have been with somebody else. Who that person is, I don't know. But listen, man, Gervonta Davis is a star. People like watching him box. He's going to have a successful career, whoever he goes with. You know what I mean? I think that with Floyd, he's been held back. They've not been very adventurous in who they've matched him with.
Definitely not.
So that's kind of sort of, I wouldn't say, what's the word I'm looking for? He hasn't blossomed, or he hasn't fulfilled that potential that we thought he had, because he's not really had those career-defining fights, has he? Who's the best fight he's fought?
Well, I thought after that Pedraza fight, I thought, yeah, man, we're really like, this is, that was a tough fight at the time, Pedraza. And I thought after he won that and the way he won it, I was like, wow, man, sky's the limit for this guy. He's going to be, but we just haven't seen him in against those guys to test him like that.
Exactly. And that's because Mayweather Promotions and that Leonard Ellaby and that, they're just not on it, bro. They're not. And then with Floyd, I feel sorry for Gervonta at times. He'll rock up at a press conference. He sat next to Floyd. And we know that Gervonta is not the best talker anyway. And it's almost like he don't get a chance to answer any questions. All you get is Floyd talking about what he's done. And as I said before, and you know what I mean? It's just, and then they limiting him to fighting only their fighters as well. Hence the Rolly Romero fight. It would appear, and this is quite dangerous for Tank, is that he doesn't seem to be wholly focused on Rolly Romero, does he?
Nah.
Because this is not the time for him to be talking like this. He should be talking like that after the fight is done. You know what I mean? It's almost like he's looking past Rolly. He shouldn't really be doing that. It would appear that it's a fight he didn't want, isn't it? The way he's talking
he's not really interested in it.
He don't really want to be there. These are dangerous things, These are the types of things that can get you beat. You have to be fully focused at this level. Even if you're fighting somebody like Rolly Romero, who's not blessed with a lot of skill, but apparently he's a decent puncher. And upsets do happen when the favorites are not focused.
Yeah.
But I just think he should get out of there as soon as he possibly can, man, because there are people out there that can handle his career a lot better than Mayweather and Ellaby. Those guys are a bit... Floyd's in it for himself, and Ellaby, to me, doesn't know a whole lot about boxing. He claims that he does, but clearly he doesn't.
Well, even if Tank stays with the PBC, they're known for having fighters fight in-house anyway. So would there be much of a difference if he stayed there? Look
at it like this, right? Who else has Floyd brought on, really, that can come out and say, yeah, Floyd's done a really good job for him? You've only got to listen to people like Mickey Bay, who was a champion in that Mayweather setup. And you hear some of the things he's come out and you think, wow. I guess Badou Jack is one of the few guys that I can look at and say, but then Badou Jack was never a high-profile champion, was he?
Theophane overachieved there, being there. I
Yeah,
know he's low level, but he did lower level
but
compared to
what I'm
welter.
saying, I think that Tank would have been better served elsewhere, man. I think there
Yeah,
are other promoters out there that would have done a way better job than Mayweather. I mean, Mayweather's saying, "Oh, we did a job, we got into a title, we made the money," but I'm gonna say that pretty much anybody could have done that because Tank is a star. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think he's been under promoted. That's what I think.
WM says here, Javante really needs to take a leaf out of Haney's book and simply be more ambitious. You have to commend Haney for taking the short end of the stick in favor of legacy. Yeah, we did say that earlier as well.
And look at it like this as well, going back to Tank. Look at it's no secret that Floyd Mayweather heavily pursued Shakur Stevenson, didn't he? After the Olympics in Rio. And Shakur turned him down. And when you listen to the reasons why he turned him down, he said, "Listen, man, I had chats with Floyd, but I just didn't believe in the project. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on." And that tells you a whole lot, bro. And right throughout, I think it's fair to say that Javante has regularly come out and expressed his misgivings with what's going on there.
Yeah.
He's always had some little sideways talk about Mayweather promotions, always. And then you look at his body language when he's in these press conferences. He's sat there and he looks downcast. He doesn't look happy. Mayweather's doing all the talking. Ellaby chatting all this crap with these little corny ass suits and sunglasses. Tank a star. Tank a star. You know what I mean? Like, it's just corny, man. Corny promotions.
Yeah.
And I just think a guy with that ability and that star quality, he could have achieved even more and he would have had better fights, career-defining fights. For example, it's no secret that Floyd and Ellaby kept Tank away from Lomachenko, from Haney, from Gary Russell Jr. You know what I mean? And the list goes on. Like I said, who has he fought in that time that, okay, the Leo Santa Cruz fight, but then even then that was, wasn't great, was it? You know what I mean? Like, no, and I think a guy like that deserved to have had a better promoter, in my humble opinion.
Well, I think he's at that age now where, you know, the time's now to get it going. You know, he's not old, but he's a slightly older than, you know, these other guys
27
like
or
Haney.
something like that.
Yeah, 26, 27. So he's the time's now.
The time
to
is now.
moving, man.
Coming into what should be his peak years. I think him getting away from Mayweather is the best thing he could do. He needs a new direction. He needs some new people behind him, new zest of energy, getting some better fights, and get some people behind him who really know what they're doing when it comes to promoting. Now, who that's going to be, of course, we don't know because is Top Rank right for him? I'm not so sure. They've had their problems there. Eddie Hearn, I don't know. But listen, I'm pretty sure Eddie Hearn could do a better job than Ellaby.
Eddie Hearn he's not been delivering. He's not been delivering for everyone.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think one of the reasons why as well, Eddie tried to spread himself so thin, hasn't he? That it's not working for him in certain areas. But I think a guy like Tank is a star, though, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Tank is one of those guys who can transcend the sport to the point where the casuals will love watching him as well. He's got that story as well, hasn't he? He's not the greatest speaker, has to be said, but he's got a great story. He's exciting. And, you know what I mean? He's already got, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A level of support there that you can garner and improve upon.
Francisco says here, Davis is still young and there's a lot of good fighters in and around his weight. So he's got a good chance of being great. Absolutely. Maybe I could see him staying on the PBC, but he could fight. There are guys over there. I mean, I guess he could fight, but we'll see. Time will tell.
I think he'll stay with Al Hangman and PBC, but
yeah,
I think the promotional agreement will change, and I think he needs that because I think Floyd smothers him, man. Yeah. Like I said, it's all about Floyd.
He's everywhere. He's in the camera. He's there in the corner.
Like you said before. Walking
over him and all that. You know, he's everywhere.
Smart investments. You know what I mean? Floyd, like nearly 50 years old, dressing up like he's 25 and big hats and it should be about the fighter, man.
You know who else?
About the fighter.
Did you know who else Mayweather Promotions had? under their roster who is in action this weekend?
Who's that?
Savannah Marshall.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
an
they
odd
did a really
pairing,
great
man.
job with her, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, she
What
weren't
a
even
job
with
the
them
team
for
of her.
long.
I felt
Did she
sorry
even have?
for her, man. Remember when she was
Yeah,
trailing around after Mayweather and Ellaby trying to get a word in, and Floyd was, Leah, like I said before, I made smart investments. And poor Savannah Marshall was just stood there, you know what I mean, in some
she's
dress. I
probably
remember
thinking,
it.
what,
Just
what,
thinking, what am
what's
I
going
doing
on,
here?
man?
You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
is the danger when you go with guys like Mayweather with the big name and you're thinking, yeah, man, he can project me onto this stage. But the trouble is, Floyd's not really into that. It's all about him. And then,
No.
like I said, you've got another narcissist in Leonard Ellaby, who's just as bad as Floyd, but except he ain't got no talent. So that just, you know what I mean? It's just, it's a, and they'll tell you, yeah, we've got him in unbeaten. He's made a lot of money, he's sold out arenas. Yeah, that's fair enough. They have done an okay job with him, but I just think that Tank is a natural star, and he could be doing so much better. So yeah, he needs to get out of there.
Savannah Marshall in action this weekend, man. I don't think anyone's really too fussed about the opponent. They just want to see her win so we can talk about her and Claressa Shields.
Yeah,
So,
apparently Clarissa's coming to the country this weekend, isn't she?
oh,
I'm
is
hearing
she?
she's going to be ringside.
Well, I
So
think that's fight. That I saw Ben Shalom basically say that we're a step closer to that fight, but I think the aim is for that Savannah Marshall to win, and then for that fight to be announced that night. That's just what I'm thinking, going from experience of watching these sort of things before. Savannah Marshall wins on Saturday night, and then her and Claressa Shields is announced. Great
I think
fight,
there's
man.
little question that she'll win. That's number
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I don't know much about her opponent, to be fair, but I mean, I don't think they're going to put her in with anyone that's
Yeah,
got a.
exactly. Yeah, I would be extremely surprised if the opponent is any good. Fully expecting Savannah Marshall to win. And then, like you said, we'll get the announcement of the fight. Claressa Shields, being the fiery type of person that she is, she'll be looking to engage Savannah Marshall in a war of words. And I have to say, Savannah Marshall, who's not the most vociferous, I'm sure that she will do her bit as well. And
Well, she did
yeah,
last
man.
time. She
Yeah,
did last time. Yeah.
she did. Yeah. Fair play to her. And yeah, man. I'll be really looking forward to that fight. That's one of the best fights to be made in women's boxing right now.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we spoke about that before. We were speaking about Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, which is in April, and we also spoke about Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall. Which one were you looking forward to more? You said Shields and Marshall, didn't you?
Definitely. Definitely. Because I love watching Claressa Shields fight anyway. I think she's got a certain magnetism about her, certain presence. I know she could go over the top a little bit with this quote stuff. And yes, she's not a big puncher. We all know that by now. But her skills levels, man, is very good. And let's face it, she beats these girls easily, doesn't she? Let's be honest. I can't remember too many times seeing Claressa Shields even having lost a round.
She
You know
was
what I mean?
dropped before, weren't she?
She was dropped, but then she got up to dominate. You know what I mean? So
Savannah Marshall can hit.
Savannah Marshall can hit, but can she hit Clarissa like that? And even if she does, can she hurt her? I think we could be looking at another, like what we were saying with Fury and Dillian, meaning that her only chance against Clarissa is to KO her. And I don't see that, to be honest.
Well, there's a lot of people that think Savannah Marshall will beat. I think I've seen a lot.
Well,
I
who
remember
said that?
she's
Peter
beaten Claressa
Fury.
Shields before. Nah,
Peter Fury.
if you've been on Twitter, you'd see. I think a lot of people do think she's got a good chance of doing it.
Yeah, but I get the impression, Daryl, that a lot of those people are hoping. There's not really like, maybe I'm wrong. I just listen, the way Clarissa conducts herself, it's that Marmite situation. You either really like her or love her, or you really dislike her or hate her. And I think what you're seeing on Twitter is a lot of people who don't like her. They see her as that big mouth, brash American that someone needs to shut her up. And Savannah Marshall is their anointed one when it comes to shutting her up. So I think a lot of those people on Twitter are expressing hope rather than any real belief in what they're saying. That's the impression I get. But
So you
that
don't
being
think she's
said,
got much of a chance then?
no, I'm not saying she's got no chance. Well, I'm saying that for me anyway, Clarissa is clearly the more skilled fighter. Clearly. Quicker, sharper, better skills. Yeah. However, you do have that variable of the big punch.
The
Or
big
so-called
punch
big punch.
and the fact she's beaten her before.
Yeah, but I think that was so long ago. I don't think that that's going to really make much difference, bro. I really don't. You know what I mean? I think it's fair. It's clear when you see them box that Clarissa is a couple of levels above her, actually, in terms of boxing skill. I think where it comes down to, Savannah Marshall's a big girl, big for the weight, strong, and she can dig. Can she? Because I can't see it being a one-punch knockout. You see, that's the thing with women's boxing as well, over those 2-minute rounds. Can you see Savannah Marshall bang knocking Clarissa out? I think she could hurt her,
she's one of
maybe
the
even
more
drop her.
prolific punchers out there for the female. She's definitely, in terms of female fight. I mean, we saw Alicia Baumgardner do it on what's the girl's name?
Terry Harper.
Terry Harper.
Clarissa Shields ain't no Terry Harper, bro.
No,
No,
she's
with
not.
respect to Terry Harper, it's not even close.
No, she's
In
not.
terms of
Definitely
skill, you're talking light years. I mean,
but I'm talking about one punch.
I
I'm
think
talking about one
sometimes
punch knockouts. One punch
sometimes
knockout
I
like
think
that.
sometimes people watching women's boxing, I don't think they appreciate just how good Clarissa is. You're talking about somebody that was a child prodigy. You know what I mean? She's lost one fight in her entire career. That was to Savannah Marshall many years ago, when she was 17. And she's won 2 gold medals since then. And she's dominated every opponent. And like Clarissa said, they would have fought several times in the amateurs. But the reason why they didn't fight is that every time they were scheduled to meet in a certain round, Savannah would get beat before they could meet. So, like I said, man, I mean, I know amateurs and pros are different. So, yeah, we have to take that into consideration. We also have to take into consideration that Savannah Marshall looks to be a big, strong girl, definitely has a decent dig in her. But can she nail Clarissa to the canvas, so to speak? I'm not so sure. I don't think so, bro. I think, yes, Clarissa would have to be smart and not just let her hands go with reckless abandon. But I could see her outboxing Savannah for fun, to be honest. But listen, man.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
WM is saying that he says that this fight is much more intriguing than Taylor Serrano, which he
I would
doesn't have
agree
a
with
lot of
that,
interest in.
I would
He said
agree
he
with
ain't
that.
got a lot of interest in it.
No, you know what? I'm not that excited about Taylor Serrano because I see Serrano beating Katie Taylor quite comfortably. I think that Katie Taylor, she's been a great fighter, great women's fighter. But I think her last couple of performances, man, have not been of that level. Yes, she might have one great night still left in her, but I doubt it. I think Serrano's younger, stronger. At this stage in their careers, I think Serrano is superior. Again, we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure Katie Taylor will give it her all. I'm sure she'll come in great shape. But I think once it's gone, bro.
Yeah.
You know
She
what I mean?
hasn't really looked very good in the last couple of fights, man, if I'm being honest. Nah.
She hasn't, not at all.
Diaz has said here, he said, you're right, Daryl. If there was a poll, it wouldn't be far. Yeah, like if you did a Twitter poll right now and you asked who would win out of Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, that poll would be 50-50.
In this country, yeah. In this country. I don't think you get that same response in America.
No, I don't think you would.
Look at some of the comments coming from the American people that watch American boxing. They think it's an easy fight for Clarissa. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you know, hey, listen, man, in a way, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it's 50-50. Because, you know, because I'm pretty sure Taylor Serrano's not 50-50, is it? Most people I speak to or I engage with on social media and so forth, a lot of those are saying that Serrano, clear winner, and that she'll easily beat Katie Taylor.
WM says here, I agree with Laurie. Serrano will easily beat Taylor and the latter will proceed to retire.
Yeah.
Katie Taylor, man. We'll see. Last one before we go. Been a great show today, man. Stack show. Sticking with boxer. Just your quick opinion on this. Chris Eubank Jr. said he's willing to drop down to 158 pounds now to fight Kell-Brook. I'm seeing Ben Shalom and Kell-Brook getting very cozy. You know, every interview I'm seeing them two together. Kell-Brook really batting the field for Ben Shalom now. And yeah, what do you think about that? That seems like it could be a possibility Eubank and Brook.
Yeah, well, I'm disappointed in Chris Eubank, bro. I must admit, like, bro, you're calling out welterweights. Like, whatever happened to this? I'll fight anyone. I want Triple G. I want Canelo. You know what I mean? What happened to? Where's that gone? Where's that energy, that desire, that ambition? Where is that gone? You said your next fight's going to be for a world title, 100% when you beat Liam Williams in what I have to say was a less than impressive performance for me. I'm not feeling this fight, bro. I mean, I'm not hating on Kell Brook coming back, by the way, because Kell Brook showed in his last fight that he still has something left, in my opinion. But I didn't want to see him pursue this fight. They're trying to build it into some kind of grudge match dating back to when Kell
It's not a real grudge, is it?
Yeah, it's not a real grudge. I mean, even Kell was like, yeah, I don't like him. It sounded a bit empty, didn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like Chris Eubank. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't like him. So what? Like, so then I guess the hype for this fight will be, Chris Eubank's going to say,
he stole Golovkin from me.
Well, you could have had Golovkin after that, and you've not exactly beaten a path to his door, have you? How comes Murata got the fight? You know what I mean? It's just, I'm disappointed in Chris Eubank. If you're Chris Eubank and you win this fight, where are you going, bro? Like, what does this mean? That you beat a welterweight, a 35 welterweight called Kell Brook?
Yeah, and one thing I noticed as well, is that Eubank was like, no, you went up to 160 to fight Triple G, you'll do the same for me, I'm the A side. And then a couple of weeks later, he's like, oh yeah, I'm willing to drop down to 158. It's just like, where's the pride, but where's the dignity, man? Like, you're chasing, like DS is saying, you're chasing a past his prime welterweight.
Yeah.
The middleweight division is trash, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
the middleweight division
do all that talking, bro, and then you end up with a Kell Brook fight. Like I said, if you win it, even if you stop or knock him out, which, let's be honest, man, Eubank's going to win, isn't he? He's a much bigger guy, younger, fresher. He's going to win. But if you're Eubank, what does that do for you on the world stage? When you go to those top execs in America and say, yeah, man, I want that fight with Canelo. I want to fight Triple G. I want to fight this man, that man. They say, yeah, let's look at your last couple of performances. A less than exemplary win over Liam Williams and a win against a 35-year-old, let's face it, well past this prime Kell Brook, even though he looked okay in his last fight. What does that really do for his resume? What does it do? Yeah. Not very much, if anything, because he's expected to win and win well. Nah, not for me. If you're serious, bro, you should be calling out Munguia. You should be calling out the Charlos. There's plenty of people you can fight. You should be calling out, well, Andre's moved up. You should be calling out, there's loads of guys you could be
I'm telling you, man, middleweight for a while is just really that division, man. It's a glamour division, but these guys in there, all right, we're getting a unification fight now. But look how long it's taken for these guys to get together, man. It's just, no, I'm not a fan of that division.
And you took Golovkin off me back in 2000, whatever it was. It sounds a bit corny, man.
Empty. Like you said.
Who cares? Like, you know what I mean? You had plenty of time after that to get Triple G in the ring and you didn't do it.
I know Nathan saying here, Danny Garcia was rumored to fight Kell Brook. I know that was...
Yeah, that would have been far better. That
makes more sense. A lot more sense.
Way more sense. Way more sense. Kell Brook versus Conor Benn. That would have been a great fight to watch.
Yep.
Much better fight, you know what I mean? Eubank... Can you imagine when they have the gloves are off or whatever, the head-to-head?
Be a bit painful, wouldn't it? Be a bit painful, I think.
You can see Johnny Nelson goes, why is there beef? Chris, let's start with you. And then Chris, back in 2008, this man stole Triple G from me. Oh, it's not going to resonate, bro. It ain't. It's just not.
I see this as well. Nathan saying here, Munguia and Jacobs rumored to be next. I did see that. That's close, actually. And I guess it makes sense for Munguia. That's right.
A good fight. I think Munguia, though, is a bit too young and a bit too lively. Got a bit too much juice for Jacobs. But that's a good fight, though.
Yeah.
Jacobs was, as we all, well, not all, but most people acknowledge, he was robbed against John Ryder, which is pretty ironic because John Ryder was robbed previously against Callum Smith. So, yeah.
Last, what about Amir Khan? Before we go, because he's looking like he's going to carry on. I heard him and
Yeah.
Florian Marku could be a fight.
Well, I'm hearing him and Will Smith. And I'll tell you what, my money's on Will Smith. Because if that slap connects with Amir Khan's jaw, then, you know what I mean, he could be doing the stanky leg. Listen, Amir Khan, man, you've been a great fighter. You've been a personality. You've not always been everyone's cup of tea, including myself, but you have been a personality. You've been a great
I'm a fan
fighter.
of Khan, man. I respect him, man.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. We no matter what we say about his chin and everything, he's a highly respected fighter. He's an icon to a lot of those people in the British Asian community. You only had to listen to Hassan Aziz the other day speak about how it was Amir Khan who inspired him. Yeah, but why are you going on, bro? Like, you got beaten to a pulp in the last fight. You look shot. You look finished. You said yourself after you didn't have the love of the game anymore. And now here you are, because you suffered that embarrassment. Because let's face it, man, that's how these things roll. That's why you got paid so much money. It was a grudge match. Whoever lost, like, remember they said before the fight, I cannot afford to lose this fight because I can't show my face around town. Just suck it up, Amir. You lost. You gave it your all, bro. You didn't quit. You didn't do a Chris Colbert and run around the ring. You gave it your best. You were beaten by the better man. And on that night, you was exposed at somebody that is not just past his best, way past your best, to the point where we're worried about your cognitive functions if you carry on boxing. And here you are now talking about a comeback, looking for some excuse. Yeah, I turned my ankle when I was running up the mountains or whatever. Bro, stop, Amir. You just don't do it to yourself, bro. You lost the fight. You know what I mean? Go out of the ring with some dignity, with some integrity, man. Don't do it. That's all I can say. Unless you're going to go to some far-flung place in Dubai or one of them and fight another Billy Dib type, then, you know, hey, that's like a testimonial. Fair enough. But you coming back, I mean, if he beats Florian Marku, what does that prove? Florian Marku's not a world-class fighter or even a big name. He may be a big name in the Albanian community, but it's not going to be the kind of name that if you beat Florian Marku, people are going to say, yeah, Amir Khan went out after losing to Kell-Brook, but he redeemed himself by being Florian Marku. It's not a redemption fight, bro. And it's a fight that you could very well lose, to be honest. Because Marco's quite tough.
He's tough.
And he's younger, and he's quite strong, and he's ambitious. And he's going to see Amir Khan as a scout. Can you imagine that? Florian Marku's going to dine out on that, isn't it? Yeah, I'll beat Amir Khan. I want Crawford next. Yeah. I beat Amir Khan quicker than what Terence Crawford did it. I want Crawford. That's what that is, you know what I mean? For Florian Marku. But for Amir Khan, what if you beat Florian Marku? What does that prove?
Well, Marku, he's got a fight anyway, isn't he?
Oh, no, it's just because you said Florian Marku.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I heard that was a possibility. But, right. You know, we'll see.
But do you not agree, though, that Amir needs to retire? I mean, what? Come on now. When you've been like a two-weight world champion or whatever it is, like, you're coming back now after, let's face it, a humiliating loss to Kell-Brook, in which you weren't even competitive. And then you're going to come back and fight a domestic level opponent just so you can get a win on your record.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard him come out and say anything. I've just heard it from other people like Ben Shalom and his brother. I ain't heard Khan come out and say, yeah, I'm coming back, man. Or
you know why that is? Because he's floating that out there because he wants to see the reaction he's getting from the public. I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing. He's being quite clever. Because if he came out and announced it, you know what I mean, it would be different. But I think what he's doing, he's floating it to see what kind of reaction he'll get. Yeah. And who will take the bait as to wanting the fight. Then they can sit down and say, well, we'll take him. He's not much of a threat, whatever. I think
Yeah.
that's what he's doing. He's sending, you know what I mean? He's putting it out there and seeing what comes back.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll end it on this one here. I think unanimously we can agree with this here. Nathan saying Khan should retire. He's had a great career. No more to prove. I think you summed it up there, man. I mean, there's nothing really more for him to prove, man. You don't
He's
want to
not.
see him get hurt. So,
Exactly.
yeah, let's see. But
You know,
listen,
he doesn't want to become the British Holyfield, man.
yeah.
And that's in danger of what's going to happen if he carries on like this.
Listen, great show. Once again, 1 hour, 45 minutes on the clock. You know, big up to everybody that managed to keep through. Shout out to you guys, man. Don't forget to hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Fantastic show today, man. Big up. Laurie, your final thoughts before we go?
No, man, listen, like I always say, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to engage my passion. Thanks, everybody out there, for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, hold on, wait a minute. A reliable source of mine tells me that he's speaking to... Nah, that can't be true.
Well, I mean, Connor...
You're trolling, bro. Sorry, I had to read that.
Fool's Day is tomorrow.
Yeah, man. I had to read that. I was just like, nah, that can't be true, man.
Listen, April Fool's Day is not yet. At the time of this show went out, it wasn't April Fool's Day. I think that guy is a bit early with the April Fool's jokes. Either that or you're trying to get Amir Khan killed. It's one of the two.
Because
okay, but
basketball,
not even funny, bro. Not even funny.
Something basketball related. This is not your thing, Laurie, but Francisco, I'll check that out, man. I don't know. I don't think they are, but I'll find that somewhere.
I like basketball, man.
Yeah.
Back in the day, me and Robbie, once a year, believe it or not, we used to travel to America quite a lot, and we used to coincide it once a year. We'd go and watch the Knicks, me and Robert. You can ask him. Ask him when you see him.
Yeah, I don't think you remember, but you've taken me to a Knicks game before.
Yeah, that was back in the days with Ewing and Stephen Marbury and all them, man, were playing. So that's a long, long time. But yeah, man, I like my basketball.
You don't remember taking me to a Knicks game when I was really young.
Yeah, I've taken you to lots of things like that. But yeah, I probably did. But yeah, Knicks was my team back in the day. I don't know how I ended up supporting them. Just going to the Garden. Yeah, I think that's what it was. We was in New York, went to the Garden a couple of times, and then we ended up supporting the New York Knicks. So yeah, every year, at least once a year, me and Robbie used to go over there and watch them.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna watch a team in New York now, it'll be the Nets. But that's a whole other convo, man.
Apparently the Knicks are in a bad way at the moment.
They're not doing great. They're not doing great. But listen, now we'll end it here, guys, man. Big up to all you lot. We'll be back next week. I'll be plugging some more videos as well. Shout out to you guys, man. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you guys very soon.